So someone recently asked me about how I studied my anatomy, so that's what we are going to be talking in today's video. I don't think I'm going to explain much about how to draw each single muscle of the body, but I will be mostly giving some tips and insights into how to learn and practice your anatomy. A little tip I got and helped me out the most when learning anatomy was to avoid making these anatomy studies with too much rendering. It was a bit of a waste of time for what I was trying to learn. Without noticing, I was covering all my mistakes in shadows, leading me to actually not learn from my mistakes. So what helped me out the most was to focus on the forms of the muscles without rendering them so much, so it could be much clearer for me and easy to remember. I would only render a bit just to show the volume of a specific group of muscles. I wouldn't add too much that covers everything since I want to learn the muscles behind. Not by studying each single fiber, but by studying the general forms of the muscles. Also, I have to clarify, I did not learn the names of the muscles. I don't consider that it's really that necessary for learning how to draw them. What it is most important is the actual forms and how to simplify them. So for learning how to simplify the muscles, I had to gather my references in order to study them correctly or get really good sources of information. For this, I studied a lot from books like Michael Hampton's Figure Drawing, Design and Invention and George Bridgman's book like Drawing from Life or Constructive Anatomy. These books helped me out a lot for simplifying the forms of the muscles and understanding how they function and bend. I also learned a lot from YouTube channels like David Finch, Proco, or even some drawing time lapses from other artists that I love, just to see how to simplify their figures. Something I really recommend if you find an artist that you actually love to see. I really recommend to search if they have videos on YouTube of how they draw, so you can analyze how they solve their figures and how they draw their anatomy, and that way you can actually learn how they think. Also, I forgot to say, I really recommend watching those two channels that I said before. They have really in-depth tutorials about anatomy and how they work. A bit later on, I started studying more from 3D photos, but especially from fitness photos. I searched mostly for really shredded people, since that way it is much easier to see the muscles and separate them. I only started learning more from real life photos once I learned how to simplify the anatomy with books or other tutorials in the internet. Another page I really recommend is Pinterest. I think most of you already heard this, but this page is a really good source for references. I think learning how to simplify anatomy with books and tutorials on the internet was really important for me, because without any previous knowledge into how to simplify the forms, I wouldn't be able to learn from real life photos, since I wouldn't understand much of what I'm seeing. Now for studying anatomy, I think the best way to focus is to go first into studying each individual part of the body, like the arms, neck, head, chest, back, legs separately, but I will start studying the parts that I'm mostly interested in the moment or what I feel I have to improve right now. I would only choose to practice what I was mostly interested in at the beginning, and later I would switch to the parts that I'm missing. This way I avoided getting too overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge that I had to study, and made me do the hardest part, which was actually just starting to draw. It can be really daunting at the beginning when seeing all those muscles that we have to learn, so it was really important for me to take it slowly. After I studied the anatomy of each individual part of the body, later I would try to connect them. This is important because most of the forms of the muscles can change depending how they are bending or overlapping between each other. For example, if I'm drawing the head, I would also try drawing the neck and part of the torso. The neck can be really tricky sometimes depending how you move the head or the angle that the camera is shot from. Another example is if I'm studying the arms, I would connect them also to the chest or back anatomy depending on the angle of how I'm drawing it. I think I really recommend studying the chest, the neck, the biceps and back muscles, mostly because they are the muscles that change a lot depending how they bend and how they connect to the other muscles. Now, there is a little mistake I used to do a lot when drawing, is that I was always thinking that the only reason why my anatomy wasn't working is because I didn't knew the anatomy, and that was actually wrong. I was focusing only on one thing, and I realized that I had to also focus on my proportions in order to make my anatomy make sense. Even though proportions are like a really different topic from anatomy, this is something that should go hand on hand with it. So for me to improve my proportions, I had to practice a lot from photos or 3D models, even tracing, in order to see what parts I was missing to improve. I think tracing 3D models or photos can help a lot to figure out our mistakes much easily, so later we can actually draw them without an actual reference. Or at least that is what helped me out the most to improve. This just helps to get into the nitpicky parts of our drawing flaws and fix them fast. I think the moment that I learned it the most was when I started working on comics. Comics tends to force you to draw poses over and over in each scene and make you even draw poses that you never thought on learning. What I'm trying to say with this is that you don't need to remember everything right now. You can always use references from photos to refresh your memory or to even learn new poses. In comics, you will have to draw many different types of poses and angles. Most of them will be new to you at the beginning. Most of them were really new to me at the beginning. So something I want to say is that feel free to use a lot of references at the beginning. You will be most of the time using references to improve your skills of drawing, your skills for drawing poses, for muscles, and so on. It is with time that you will remember most of those muscle forms with the poses. Even to this day, I still use references or make my own references with 3D, especially for really hard angles and weird perspectives that often are really difficult to find in the internet. Remember that references are there for us to learn more and to improve. I know probably you heard this a lot, but practice a lot and draw a lot, because it is with repetition that you will learn how to draw the muscles and how they work. There are so many ways to draw them, so don't get too overwhelmed if you don't learn them right now. Even right now, I still have a lot of trouble with certain parts and I have to go back and forth just to remember what I learned. That's why I almost always search for references, because we never get to learn everything. There is always something new to improve. I don't think we never stop using references. We do start using less with time, but if we want to improve more, using good references and studying from them are really the key. For my last tip, one of the reasons why I was able to repeat and practice every single day, it was because I was having fun with it, to the point that I got obsessed with learning more. I think I used to practice between 2 to 8 hours a day for like 3 or 4 years continuously. And I would always be checking on Instagram or Pinterest to search for inspiration. Now, you don't need to draw almost all day or every day like I used to do. This is just my experience and what my obsession to learn kinda led me to. Having fun is a really important key to keep yourself motivated to draw, making it later into a discipline. You will find that you will end up drawing even when you are feeling low, and your curiosity to learn more stuff will grow. So focus first on the things that you like to do, just to get used to draw or study much constantly. Take it at your own pace and you will see that you will end up learning more stuff on the go, depending on your goals at the moment. Have fun, because that is what art is supposed to be for us. A way to let go things, entertain ourselves, get lost in our own worlds, maybe escape reality, and also as a way to connect with others. That being said, I think that's all I have to say about learning tips or how I studied my anatomy. If you think this was useful or you learned something new, let me know in the comments, and also if you are new here, please consider subscribing so I can get to do more videos like this or even experiment with more art content related. Now I will let you with the rest of the page I'm working on in case you want to see how it ends up looking. I hope you find it useful.